Hey there, humans. I am Gene Pocket. You probably remember me from my run for president in 2016 at the top of the Human Party ticket. I'm also a public speaker and the author of several books, including Robots, Rules of Order, a primer for human resistance, which hits the stores real soon. Now, a lot of you have been asking me where I've been, and I want to assure you that I have never stopped fighting for our collective human future. Now, I haven't said much since the election, but I also haven't been sulking in the forests of upstate New York or profiting off my loss by hawking an insipid political memoir. I'm too busy. I'm always working on a book, and I'm still the chairman of the Human Party. I've been hard at work organizing with other members of the party, and I am proud to say that my former running mate and current roommate, Corduroy Pocket, was elected unanimously as deputy chair of the party. Now, some of you may have heard the rumors that I was developing a show with Richard Fortundale in the RF Entertainment Group. Well, of course, those rumors were overblown. They always are. Dick Fortundale and I, we have some pretty big differences of opinion, and that show was canceled before it even left the barroom napkin. I understand where he's coming from. I mean, there's no ad money in telling the truth. And truth tellers like me are about as welcome as a robot at a human party. I watched with horror as they pulled the platform right out from under Alex Jones. Now he says a lot of things I don't agree with, but he is pushing the boundaries of human understanding, and he has some real insight into artificial intelligence.
Proto-robots, androids, who will work 16, 17, 18 hours a day for almost no food to just overthrow the livable wage of the planet. And if you think the Chinese have brought down the world standard of living for the average person, wait until the robots get online, and that's the socialist and globalist plan, admittedly, is to replace us with robots post-haste and then dictate the terms of our surrender.
Now, you got to admit, he's just about as human as you can get, and in my book, that's way more important than anything. I'd rather have my news curated by Alex Jones than some artificial intelligence cooked up in the Google laboratories. And that is exactly what's happening. Google, Facebook, and other tech companies are employing armies of online artificial intelligences to police the news and police our thoughts. Here it is on CNN.com. A new set of AI techniques to take a constant flow of information as it hits the web, analyze it in real time, and organize it into storylines. It goes on to talk about how it's only going to display news from trusted news sources, but Google never really articulates how they decide what's trustworthy and untrustworthy. Now, really let that sink in. Rather than let us make our own decisions about what's real and what's fake, these tech oligarchs would rather leave it in the care of bots and artificial intelligences. I mean, they're already stealing our jobs, might as well let them control our thoughts, too. Shaking my damn head. Now, let's talk about the fake news for a moment. You ought to know by now, if you're seeing it on a screen, dollars to donuts, it's fake news. I don't think that's any big secret. And everybody hates fake news, from Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump.
Let me just mention briefly one thread in particular that should concern all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, especially those who serve in our Congress. The epidemic of malicious fake news and false propaganda that flooded social media over the past year. It's now clear that so-called fake news can have real-world consequences. This isn't about politics or partisanship. Lives are at risk. Lives of ordinary people just trying to go about their days, to do their jobs, contribute to their communities.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people.
Pretty much everybody has something to say about how destructive fake news can be. But that doesn't stop any of them from reading fake news and watching fake news and sharing fake news. And you know all the stuff on Twitter and Facebook and Google. It's not news at all. It's entertainment. Edutainment at best. And any information you learn along the way is purely coincidental. They never tell you the full story because they can't. Even if you're an eyewitness, you're only seeing one side of the story. And as we've seen, the media favors cohesive narrative over comprehensive coverage. Remember how Google is arranging your news into cohesive storylines? It's simple psychology. Humans need a story to understand complicated subjects. Instead of taking the time to accurately convey the truth, which can be confusing, the media takes the easy way. They lock on to the most salacious details and magnify them beyond all reasonable proportion to string together the most dramatic narrative they can cobble up. And they increasingly rely on anonymous sources instead of doing the legwork required to ferret out the truth. Now I'm going to pause here just for a moment and talk about anonymous sources. I know President What's-His-Name has talked about this a lot. He called it fiction on Twitter, but that's not entirely accurate. Without documentation, proof, evidence of some kind, an anonymous source should be considered no more reliable than the journalist. The credibility of the source relies on the credibility of the journalist. And as we've seen, journalists get it wrong all the time. I mean, these edutainers live in a moral void where accountability doesn't exist. Because unlike the world the rest of us live in, if an edutainer gibbons it up, they get to keep their job. Hell, they might even get their own show. Accuracy is not a factor. Watchability is all that matters. Cohesive storylines and ginned up drama to get all those clicks, likes, and retweets. Truth isn't even a factor. Meanwhile, these edutainers are complaining about attacks on their profession, while elites and Washington insiders steal jobs like cashiering and secretarial work from Americans and give those jobs to lifeless machines, and they've been doing it for decades. The media wants the American people to protect them, even though they did nothing to help the millions of Americans who are suddenly out of work replaced by machines. First, they came for the bank tellers, and I did not speak up. Then they came for the grocery store clerks, and I did not speak up. You know the thing. The point is that there's no point in trying to ferret out what is and what is not fake news. It's all fake news. I mean, just look at their reliance on the polls. The media loves polls. They love polls more than strippers do. They talk about them endlessly. This poll said that. This poll said that. Sound like they're standing on a corner in Warsaw. And like someone drinking a Diet Coke because it's healthy, the media loves to talk about polls like they're scientific. They think there's numbers involved, so it must be scientific, but there's no scientific value to a poll. There are so many ways a poll can go wrong. Primarily, that they are often used to measure emotion, which is by its very nature immeasurable. Feelings and emotions vary from human to human because we are all unique and beautiful. Human emotion is not scientific, and if you are using your poll to measure human emotion, your poll is not scientific. But that doesn't stop the media. They use polls to divide us up and label us. They act like race and age and sex are the only things that define us. What they need to understand is that we're all of us, even journalists, we're all human. And we're going to have to come together to fight against the real enemy, machines, bots, and artificial intelligences. Now, I can hear you talking right now. I can hear you saying, why are you talking about the media, Gene? Why are you talking about the edutainers when we got that cat-grabbing landlord in the White House? And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you right now. Because the media is the organ that's meant to hold our lawmakers and leaders accountable. And instead of talking about how we're all going to be replaced by machines in the next 10 years, they're talking about Russia, they're talking about George Papadopoulos, they're talking about the existence, they're talking about doggone opinion polls. The only jobs they talk about saving are their own. We need a media in this country that actually cares about the people they're meant to be informing. Because I'll tell you what, these media folks couldn't care less about working Americans. They live in their air-conditioned coastal enclaves and are fixated on two things, themselves and popular culture. They don't really understand anything beyond that, and they're afraid that if they begin to understand, they will somehow be tainted with the stain of grubby, mundane reality. Don't let them get away with telling you that they're telling you the truth, because they are not. They're telling you whatever it takes to keep their jobs and preserve their platinum lifestyles. We need a media in this country that is willing to risk itself to tell the truth. And sadly, we do not have that. And that's why I'm talking to you today. After watching the elites have Alex Jones silenced, and after watching the media and the edutainment industry succumb to the insidious influence of artificial intelligence, I've decided I can no longer stay silent. I will be coming to you every week to bring you the truth. I'll say it every day till the day I die. We need to work together. All of us, even those journalists, even white supremacists and Muslims and Pokemon hunters, people on keto, people who like dogs, CrossFit enthusiasts, Shrekfest attendees, bicyclists, vegans, everybody. The real enemy is the machines and the bots, and most of all, the artificial intelligences. We have more in common with each other than we will ever have with automated humanoids. Now, I want to thank you for watching, and I will be back next week with more news for human use. In the meantime, visit genepocket.org, that's G-E-N-E pocket.org, for more information and a link to our Patreon page. Hit subscribe and be sure to tell them that you want those notifications. You can't trust those AI bastards. Till next week, I wish good things for you, good things for the United States of America, and all the best to the human race. Thanks, and have a great week.